Hello, everyone. I am Tamara Farhat, the Programs and Public Policy Coordinator at the Kidney Foundation of Canada. Welcome to today's webinar, Cooking Demonstration with Anna Olson. Before we begin, I want to start with an acknowledgement of the lands we now know as Canada and its peoples. As an organization dedicated to supporting people affected by kidney disease nationwide, the Kidney Foundation of Canada's work takes place on traditional Indigenous lands across Canada. Our national office is located in Montreal, Teotihuacan, a place which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange amongst many First Nations, including Kaninekehaka of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, Huron, Wendat, Abenaki, and Anishinaabeg. We recognize the historical oppression of lands, cultures, and original peoples, and we dedicate ourselves to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. We encourage you to share the territory in which you live, work, and play in the chat. The Foundation of Canada would like to thank our sponsors for the 2025 webinar series, Accenture, Otsuka, and Sobi. Their ongoing support allows us to offer meaningful educational opportunities and empower people to better manage their kidney health. The information presented in today's webinar is current as of today, October 16. The material shared in this presentation is not intended to be medical advice. You should speak to your doctor and your registered dietitian about your own individual situation. The information is intended for a Canadian audience. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to registered dietitian June Martin, who will be moderating today's demonstration. June has been a nephrology dietitian for over 25 years at Grand River Hospital in Kitchener. She currently works in home hemodialysis, MSA-KISE, and in center dialysis. She is the past president of the Canadian Association of Nephrology Dietitians and one of the original authors of the Spice It Up series of cookbooks. June has been a longtime volunteer at the Kidney Foundation and currently is the co-chair of the National Public Policy and Programs Committee. With June, we have our chef today, Anna. Anna is a baker and accomplished savory chef. She is one of Canada's most recognizable TV personalities. For 2 decades, she hosted Food Network Canada shows like Bake with Anna Olson, Great Chocolate Showdown, and others. On her Oh Yum YouTube channel, which has over 1.5 million subscribers, she shares recipes, live streams, and new series to a global audience. Author of 12 best-selling cookbooks and a Taste Canada Gold Medal winner, Anna combines creativity, entrepreneurship, and mentorship. A former investment banker turned chef, she trained at Johnson & Wales and worked across the US before settling in Niagara, where she ran 2 bakeries. Now a grandmother, she continues to inspire the next generation of home cooks and bakers. And now I give it to you, June and Anna.
Hello, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm very excited to be here with Anna. Anna is making us 3 amazing side dishes. We are going to be having a barley and carrot pilaf, tahini broccolini, and
the baked crispy cauliflower. Yes, that's okay.
So Anna, should we get started?
Sure. And it's a pleasure to have you here in person. The last time we did a seminar, June you were dialing in from your kitchen. And so it's nice we can be here together and really create a dialogue for you. And the goal today, but first off, I have to mention, you brought up the point that we're wearing the Kidney Foundation colors. We did not plan that. It just happened. But what I wanted to share with you were 3 side dishes, because picking your protein can be the easy part. I'm in the mood for chicken. I'm in the mood for salmon. But what do you serve with it, especially when certain common side dishes like potatoes come out of the equation? So I'm going to start things off with the tahini broccolini, getting the vegetables ready. what I like about this dish is its color. So we've already got I went ahead and we pre-blanched the broccolini just so we weren't waiting at the very end of this. We're doing 3 side dishes in under an hour. But you can just put the raw, trimmed, washed broccolini in your pan, ready to go. And I like to put it in a single layer so that way it roasts evenly. I've got a single red bell pepper cut up into chunky pieces, and red pepper is really good for us, isn't
Red
it?
pepper is an amazing source of fiber, vitamin C, and it's a low potassium vegetable. And you could probably use yellow peppers or orange peppers if you couldn't find red peppers as well.
Okay, good. But that pop of color
so pretty.
and nice natural sweetness is nice. And additionally, I have king oyster mushrooms. So these have been sliced. You can find them in the grocery store now. You've got cremini as an option if you'd rather not. What I like about the king oyster is they're meaty without being meaty. So they don't wither away. They don't let off too much water or juices, which is why it's easy to just lay them right on top of the vegetables like this. And I think for the sake of color, I'm going to pull some of the red pepper and put it on top.
Looks very Christmassy with the bread.
Hey, all right. Well, now that Thanksgiving is done, can we
focus.
actually start talking about Christmas? And if I can have you pass me just a tablespoon. We're going to put a little drizzle of oil just so the vegetables don't dry out. Mushrooms will absorb as much oil as you give it. So you don't have to be too generous at this point. If you need to add a little bit at the very end, you can. Eggplant is another vegetable like that. I prefer, especially when I grill eggplant, we slice our eggplant and grill it dry. We put nothing on it. It won't stick to the grill. But if you put that oil on in the beginning, it's going to want more and more and more. But once it's cooked, it just takes a little drizzle to put it on the surface.
And eggplant is another great low potassium vegetable.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
We're going to put a little black pepper on right now. We don't need the salt because the flavor is going to come from the tahini sauce that we make. So this is going to go in the oven for 10 minutes. Then I'll put the dressing on and it'll bake for another 10 minutes. Oh, and my cauliflower is already in there and kind of steamy. All right.
It already smells really good.
Now, while this bakes, and let me set the timer here. There we go. June, why don't we get our barley carrot pilaf rolling?
Okay.
Because this is a stovetop dish. And what we're going to do, I'll just get the heat going on a medium heat. If you want to put a little drizzle of oil in the pan. So a pilaf is easier to make than a risotto, but it's got a nice natural creaminess and it affords the opportunity, unlike just cooking, boiling barley or boiling rice, it allows you to work in flavor at the same time. So, but it's not like risotto where you have to stand and stir it constantly. So the first thing I'm going to do, if you wouldn't mind the wooden spoon, this is a single onion and 2 large carrots that we've peeled, and just use a box grater to grate it. And so we're going to take a few minutes. I'm going to turn up our heat and let that cook down.
And I love that Anna is using some barley today because barley is such a unique grain and it is so high in fiber and so good for you.
And this will take a few minutes to cook down. Whenever you're sauteing vegetables, I usually say about 5 minutes. And this is an automatic flavor builder. I'll be honest, sometimes at home when I don't know what to cook for dinner, I just start cooking an onion. It makes the house smell good and it smells like you know what you're doing.
It does smell good.
Yeah, and then everything else goes from there. But now carrots are in season. They're a Canadian vegetable that are at their peak, and I do try and cook seasonally whenever I can.
And we
You
did
can
get
keep giving
the
this a stir.
question as well of how to season food for the kidney diet without using salt. And as you mentioned, Anna, onion is a great way to do it, sauteing onions. Any other suggestions?
Oh, certainly. Well, for this dish, I'm leaning on a little bit of garlic. Actually, I'm using garlic in all three dishes. I'm waiting until the vegetable softens before I add it. But herbs that you add in the beginning of the cooking process. Here I have fresh thyme, 2 teaspoons of chopped fresh thyme, and you rarely eat anything and say, "Ooh, that's lovely thyme flavored rice." But it's kind of like vanilla in the way vanilla is in baking. It makes other flavors taste bigger. Thyme is a beautiful back of the palate. It rounds out flavors. And with the barley that comes with this character of being toasty, that gives it's a lot more flavor than rice. Plus, it's got a lot of fiber too.
Yeah. And I find it much more filling than a side of rice. A side of barley is very, very filling, very satisfying.
And the way I'm preparing this dish with the thyme and the garlic, I find is kind of goes with anything. But if you want to say lean a little more towards spring or lighter flavors, to add some chopped tarragon and a little bit of lemon zest, all of a sudden lightens it up if you're serving it with something like salmon or something off the grill. If you want to make it a little more Italian, you could put some chopped fresh rosemary to intensify it. So these herbs, I call them stemmy herbs. Stemmy herbs like thyme and rosemary and sage that have a thick stem, they get added at the beginning of the cooking process, where leafy herbs like basil, dill, and coriander, you add at the end of the cooking process because they would just completely cook away if you're making something like this that takes 15, 20 minutes to cook. And these are softening up. You can see the vegetables have reduced by about 50% in volume already because they're softening up. So we're going to add our garlic now.
I will be honest, I didn't think they would fit in the pan.
And now we can add the barley. Now, when it comes to cooking barley, what I like to do is rinse. This is pearl barley. I like to rinse it to wash off any surface starch. That way you don't get stodgy. We're not trying to make oatmeal here. It holds its grain. Now, to get ahead for this cooking seminar, we did pre-cook the barley a little bit just so we're not waiting for it. But it ultimately takes about 15 minutes. So this is the pilaf method. You would put your par-cooked or raw barley after rinsing right in the pot. And if you can give that a little stir, and if we get some barley and carrot going everywhere, we just had our little granddaughters down for Thanksgiving weekend, 4 and 2, and yeah, there were just sprinkles, oats, everything everywhere, but that's just part of the process, right?
That is how I cook.
Now, when you're making risotto at this point, so now we're sort of coating the barley with the oil and the vegetable flavor, you would add your liquid a little at a time, and slowly stir it to draw out the starch from the rice, making it creamy. A pilaf, you add your liquid all at once. I'm not adding the full amount simply because we did pre-cook the barley a little bit, and I can adjust it if I need to. I want you to see this simmer away, but normally you would just then put the lid on, set the timer for 15 minutes, and you want to hold it at a nice even simmer, and you're good. Oh, I should talk about the Mexican version of this. So say you want to serve this with more Mexican inspired flavors, extra garlic, and add a salt-free chili powder. So not a fajita mix, because those tend to be loaded with salt, right? Yeah. But just a straight chili powder, and yeah, you can really tailor it.
And I just want to point out with the broth, it is a no salt added broth. Sometimes you have to be careful because they take, when they reduce sodium in some products, they take the sodium chloride out and they put potassium chloride in its place. So buying a no salt added broth will make it safe for everybody. Even if you don't need a potassium restrictant, it's probably a good idea.
We did get a question, June, about barley and it's not being gluten-free. Do you have any other recommendation for someone who is celiac?
Yeah, so rice is obviously your go-to grain if you do have celiac. you know, if you don't need to worry too much about your potassium, quinoa would also be a reasonable option.
Would buckwheat kasha work, or is that
I believe
tricky
it is not
ingredients?
gluten-free.
Okay. Oh, I thought buckwheat was.
Maybe it is.
Okay.
That's a good question.
But it's got a really intense flavor. It's stronger than barley, so
Yeah.
you'd have to be ready for that. But this is why I like using the vegetable mix, adding so much carrot, because if you just cook straight barley and eat it, just like if you cook straight quinoa, it's not enjoyable. So that mix of vegetables really does extend it and help it along. While this simmers away,
Do you want
yep.
me stirring?
No, you don't have to, because the idea, I just want everybody to be able to see it with the overhead cam. Normally I would just put a lid on it,
Okay.
but that's not very exciting television, is it? But the fact is you don't have to stir it now that we've got the liquid and it'll live. Yes. But now what I'd like to do, because our timer is going to be coming up on that initial bake for the tahini broccolini, let's put our sauce together. So if you want to grab one of those little spatulas, thank you. We are going to make the sauce. So this is about layering in flavor. Even in the pilaf, we've got the sweetness from the carrots, you've got that background note from the thyme, the onion, the garlic. Here, we're relying on the sauce to give very neutral, mild vegetables some flavor. So at the base of the sauce is yogurt. If you want a thicker sauce, you would use a Greek yogurt. And then you could use non-fat if you wanted to, because Greek yogurt's thick.
Yeah, and it's a great source of protein as well.
And this is a tahini sauce. I just picked it because I liked saying tahini broccolini. But we've got, do you want to talk about tahini a little bit?
Yeah, so tahini is the sesame paste, and it is used in a lot of dishes to give kind of that umami flavor. Now, sesame seeds are a little bit higher in potassium and phosphorus, but most people can safely include some seeds every day in their diet. It just has a lot of low sodium flavor.
Okay, so what would you suggest as a recommended amount?
Per serving, probably about a tablespoon.
Oh, okay. Well, this is 2 tablespoons for
Okay, you don't need a lot.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's intense.
It is.
And the ingredients is simply sesame seeds. That's all it says. Now, oh, hello, that's the broccolini. Oh, I have to turn this off or it'll keep singing at us. I find different types of tahini paste. Some can be really dense and thick. And as you're stirring it together, it has this tendency to, you can see how I was using regular yogurt, not Greek, and how just adding the tahini thickens it up. If you're finding it's too thick, you just add a splash of water. But I do wait before I add too much water. I'm adding some lemon juice, so it's got a nice tang. You've got the toastiness of this tahini paste, the lemon. We're balancing it out. Creating contrast is, I find, a big way of sort of building flavor without adding salt. So just a touch of honey, garlic, and then I've got dried chili flakes here, which I leave up to you. If you want, okay, then we're going to do 2 pinches. And I'll just move that out of the way and give that a little stir. So everything is combined without adding any salt whatsoever. We should have that full, well-rounded taste.
And I think it kind of adding the acid from the lemon and the richness of the tahini is a great way to add flavor without adding salt.
Oh, and there's our vegetables. Yeah, that's 10 minutes in a 400-degree oven. So it really doesn't take long. And now this just gets poured right on top and baked for another 10 minutes.
Now, Anna, if you couldn't find broccolini, would you just use regular broccoli?
Sure.
Yeah.
And in fact, my fabulous associate, Lisa, sent her husband out to buy broccolini because when I went to buy it to get ready for our demo, they were out of it. I think post-Thanksgiving, they had a run on broccolini. And I bought gailan or yu choy.
Right.
in its place. So that would work. Regular broccoli, any sort of stemmy rapini. Would you recommend that?
Yeah. Be higher in potassium, so check with your dietitian before, especially the Chinese broccoli tends to be pretty high.
Are these recipes freezer friendly? Can people freeze them and then defrost them and use them later?
I would say you could use the frozen vegetables. So if you're buying frozen broccoli or you can buy the mixes sometimes, cut up peppers, that you could use that. But I wouldn't prepare the dish and freeze it and then reheat it. It's easy enough. If you're looking to plan ahead, you could assemble that sauce and just hold it in the fridge for a day or two. You've got the fresh garlic in there, so a couple of days, and then have the veg ready. But you could use frozen veg. For this you could make, once you've got it made, this can freeze and reheat very easily. And then that takes us to the cauliflower, which you could use frozen cauliflower and assemble and bake this if you wanted. All right.
And broccoli, I'll just point out, makes a great cold side dish. You know, if you have this hot for dinner, this would be great as a side for lunch the next day, or with some chopped up chicken on top.
All right, I'm just setting my timer on my broccoli again, so that will be coming out of the oven. And now our barley is looking good. And I do, you take the lid off to check. We've still got some liquid at the bottom. So it's got lots of time.
Smells really good.
It does. Now, I'd like to talk, if we could, moving on to our third recipe, the hot and spicy baked crispy cauliflower, because I think we're always looking for new ways to serve cauliflower.
And cauliflower is a great high fiber, low potassium vegetable. So good for us.
Oh, good. And it's tasty too.
It is my favorite vegetable.
Yeah, and instead of just defaulting to cheese sauce, which at Thanksgiving I do love, you see a lot of people cut the cauliflower into steaks, and then simple non-salt spice mixes you can use, like Chinese 5-spice and za'atar, can really add a lot of flavor. But if you want something a little more adventurous, this is crispy coated cauliflower. So what I did was take a head of cauliflower, break it into florets, and I wanted to get this in the oven to get it crispy first. So you make this batter, and I want to show you the ingredients. We've got a combination, so it's a very small amount of batter, and it's a combination of rice flour and cornstarch, so it is gluten-free. We had someone asking about that. A little bit of vegetable oil, some sesame seeds, and the key is, for the crispness, chilled club soda or sparkling water, because that gives, this is common in a lot of batters, it helps give the crispness to it. So you just mix that up and then tumble the cauliflower florets in it, and in a slightly hotter oven, 425, you bake this for about, well, now it's escaped me. Is it 20 minutes? 30 minutes. 30 minutes. So the cauliflower is steaming and roasting, but then it is crispy now. So we are ready for the next step.
Really
I'm going to just set this behind us so we can make the sauce.
Anna, you mentioned that you used rice flour, which is gluten-free. We actually got a question as well about baking with gluten-free flour. And June, please also give us your advice when it comes to the kidney diet. Which gluten-free flour would you recommend for baking?
I have no brand partnership, so I'm just speaking from experience. There are two brands I like to use that I find it's amazing how much better gluten-free baking blends are in the marketplace compared to even just 5 years ago. I would say, in terms of flavor and how it works in baking as a one-to-one substitution, Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking blend is excellent. It is brown rice flour based, where I find some of the other cheaper baking blends are soybean flour, and it can have a bit of a funny taste, a back of the palate taste. I really like how it works in gluten-free baking as a one-to-one substitution. The other brand I like is called Cup 4 Cup, like for the number. It was designed by a famous California chef, Thomas Keller, and he designed it for his niece, I believe, who was celiac. The difference between the two, though, is worth noting. There is skim milk powder in the cup for cup blend. So if you're baking for a vegan, you have to be aware of the milk protein that's in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're making this sweet and spicy sauce. Now, if you've heard of Korean fried cauliflower or Korean baked cauliflower, this is an adapted version because the common ingredient you find in that is gochujang, which is a fermented chili paste, and it is packed with salt. So it just disappears from the equation here. But we want to build in big flavor. So let's talk about ketchup a little bit. Ketchup is at the base.
So, most of us just buy regular ketchup, but we know it has some salt in it. Now, Anna has the low sodium ketchup here. And what's important for you to know, if you are on a potassium restriction, it does contain potassium chloride. So just like with some of the soup broths, you have to be really careful that you're not adding a whole lot of potassium to your diet in something like ketchup. Tomatoes naturally have potassium in them already, and so you're safer to use the regular ketchup. And it adds a lot of flavor, and you can tell that you don't need to add salt. So you're using a bit of a salty ingredient with the other ingredients here, but you're not getting the extra potassium. And when it comes to a per serving, it's totally acceptable.
That makes sense. And to me, that was a revelation to learn about it a little bit. Okay, to carry on with the sauce, I have a generous amount of garlic. And the nice thing is now in Canada, we've understood that we like our garlic, and so much garlic is grown in Canada. So through a good part of the winter, you don't have to buy imported garlic. And the Canadian garlic has such a great flavor. Grated fresh ginger, another big, powerful flavor that has a lot of impact. It's got heat without being chili pepper heat. It's got a tang to it, and with the garlic is just divine. I'm adding a little bit of rice vinegar. And this is low sodium soy sauce. Did you want to touch on that for a moment?
So this is a great example of how you can take a higher sodium ingredient like soy sauce. So if we look at a tablespoon of lower sodium soy sauce, there's no potassium added. A teaspoon has about 200 milligrams of sodium. So if you're adding it to the whole recipe, it's not going to be a problem for you. And it's a great way to add flavor in your cooking. And you don't need a lot. It adds a lot of flavor all on its own.
This is a small amount for an entire head of cauliflower. And then the last ingredients, second last, sesame oil, which is I love the toastiness of sesame oil, but it's as much about the aroma. And when we're tasting food, smell, I find, is as important as the physical taste on our palate, because we take in the aromas of the thyme and garlic with our nose first before we taste anything. So aroma is always so important.
And do you buy toasted or untoasted sesame oil? Because I always wonder when I'm at the grocery store.
I buy the toasted just for my everyday use, because then I use it as a finishing oil. It doesn't, it's got a bigger flavor. And now let's talk about hot sauces a little. So we're making this a little spicy with hot sauce, but I didn't realize until I was speaking to you what a difference the hot sauce brand can do.
Yeah. So looking at a lot of hot sauces, it is really hard. You know, I talked about using a higher sodium ingredient in small amounts, but it is really hard to add some of the hot sauces in any amounts. They're so high in salt. Anna showed me this Cholula hot sauce, which is actually, it's not a low sodium product, but it is pretty low in sodium. So we were pretty happy to use that in this recipe. And then also sriracha. It's pretty reasonably lower in salt. The serving size is 2 tablespoons, and I think that is a huge, crazy amount for me.
I could not eat that much.
I could
not sriracha.
So if you're keeping your portions light, then these are great options to use. Add a lot of flavor without adding a lot of salt.
We are hooked on Cholula. in our house. I love the flavor of it. It's a milder heat but it's got full flavor.
And not a lot of salt.
No. And now this is a sauce that you can make and hold in the fridge. It's got ingredients that will stay fresh for quite a few days. I put half of this, I'll bring the cauliflower back. Half of this gets baked onto the cauliflower, and then the other half you can use as a dipping sauce.
Nice.
So it's discretionary. So I'll just pour a little, it'll loosen up as it bakes. I don't want to completely cover the cauliflower because now it's already got the crunch built in. So this is just going in for a few last minutes to warm up and kind of baste each floret, but not make it go soft. The original recipe would be you would batter and deep fry the cauliflower. And then we turned into sort of baking, and this version allows you to fully bake it. If you have an air fryer, just pop this in the air fryer. Yeah. You just have to do smaller batches.
And if you were to compare this to a traditional fried cauliflower, it would have over 1,000 milligrams of sodium per serving. So this is a great option. You're going to get so much flavor.
Oh, I put all of the sauce on. Oh, well. Got carried away. Everybody gets hot sauce. That's the other reason I usually do half and half. It's not everyone wants it so spicy. We're getting it spicy today. Well, this is perfect timing because we can take a look at our tahini broccolini. There we go. And so the sauce itself kind of browns on top a little bit. And then now we've got our mushrooms fully cooked. I did put a small sprinkling of sesame seeds, but to your point, if you need to pull back on it.
And the sesame seeds, you really don't absorb much of what's inside the sesame seed. The paste will absorb the potassium, the seeds themselves mostly pass through the undigested.
This is one of those recipes that now that you've seen the sauce and how easy it is, ultimately it's the Greek yogurt, tahini, lemon juice, garlic. That's at the heart of it. You can put that on anything. So I want to give you full flexibility. I know we had the question about freezing or making ahead. This sauce can go on top of eggplant. It can go on top of zucchini. So whatever quantity of vegetable that you want to make, it's the tying together of this sauce to give it some flavor impact. And it can also double as a sauce for, say, a piece of chicken or salmon. It's just that simplest, it's a non-recipe recipe. Yogurt, tahini, lemon, garlic, boom, done. So, and now let's take a peek at our liquid is almost fully absorbed now in our pilaf. See, there's just a little bit left.
We did get a question about the pilaf. Can people use other vegetables? The question was, does the pilaf work with zucchini, for example? Is that too much water in it? Are there other vegetables that they can use?
That is a great question, and 100% yes. Because you've got that initial cooking stage where you're letting the water within the vegetable evaporate. So if you want to add celery, replace half the carrot with the grated zucchini or even fine diced zucchini. You're just going to cook it out till the water evaporates. Ultimately, the barley is going to absorb it. I've even put our peas acceptable.
Yeah, they're great.
Frozen peas at the very end. They all float to the top. When you do it, it's always a surprise when you lift the lid. Oh, there they are right on top. Cut up green beans would be a great addition. That's the ease of a pilaf. You know, it's a side dish that used to be popular in the 80s. And I think every household learned how to make it. I remember my mom making it. And then it kind of went out of style because everybody started making risotto. And this is so easy, packed with flavor. I like the seasoning. So we haven't added any salt whatsoever. Shall I give you a little dish to try some?
Yes, you should.
Okay. Actually, I did pull out a serving dish. There you go.
Thank you. That is really good. has a lot of flavor. It's hard to believe that there's not any salt in there. This is the best part of being here with you, is that I get to try.
I'm just gonna slide this out of the way because we're now done with the burner. There we go. Oh, red pepper would be beautiful in that.
It would,
Yeah.
yes.
Or if you want to, we're talking about spice, throw in some jalapeno. Yeah, lots of options.
You can kind of make it match whatever protein you're serving with it.
Okay, now to take a peek. We're doing great for time, so we'll have lots of time to answer questions, won't we? Oh yeah, I'm going to give that just a minute. So why don't we, if there are some questions, now's a good moment while we're waiting for the cauliflower.
Yes, of course. It's just a reminder, if you have a question and you haven't added it yet, please add it in the Q&A box so we can see it and reply to it. So a question we got is it okay or is it possible to drink a glass or two of wine with these meals or just in general per week? June, I give this question to you.
Well, that depends on many things, like if you have medications that interact with alcohol. From a kidney perspective, alcohol on its own, we would just recommend the same guidelines that Health Canada says, drink in moderation, no more than 1 to 2 drinks in a day, and drink as little as, I mean, it's not a good idea to drink a lot of alcohol, but in moderation it is okay. And if you are, I would like a glass of wine with this right now. It smells wonderful. But yeah, you want to check with your doctor and with your pharmacist before you go ahead and add alcohol, because it's really individualized.
Another question we got is, are these recipes good for low potassium diet? And also we got a question of, if someone needs to watch their potassium and phosphate intake, what should they do as adjustments and replacements?
So most of these are just absolutely fine for a low potassium diet. We would say, in the most part, if you're looking at a regular recipe, these are recipes Anna has adapted from her cookbook. If you're looking at a recipe and you're looking at those high potassium ingredients in there, like perhaps it's potatoes and it's in a stew or something, maybe you could add pasta to that, or prep your potatoes in advance. So all these recipes are reasonable amounts of potassium. And the most important thing you can do is check your labels to make sure you're not accidentally buying things that have potassium-based additives. And those are where you really run into problems, because it's a very easily absorbed source of potassium.
That's good to know.
And Anna, for you, any tips to reduce sugar when it comes to baking, or any substitutes for sugar?
That is a question I do get asked a lot. When it comes to replacing sugar, actually, I'll use your expertise now, because there are a lot of sugar substitutes on the market. You have to keep in mind that sugar lends more to baking than just sweetness. It lends structure and it lends moisture. So when you're reducing, especially when it comes to moisture, if you're just simply reducing sugar, so say your favorite muffin recipe and you want to cut the sugar in half, if it calls for half a cup of sugar, you're reducing it to a quarter cup. You need to replace that quarter cup with something with moisture. That could be applesauce, is the simplest option, because it's a natural sweet flavor and it adds moisture. Now, in terms of sugar substitutes, I know I like working with coconut palm sugar.
Well, I have to tell you right now, I don't know the potassium content of coconut palm sugar.
Actually, Lisa, I think we have some in the cupboard right here.
Okay.
No, I don't mean to put you on the spot. So let's.
Some coconut products, like coconut water, coconut milk, can be quite high in potassium. So you do have to watch, and I'll take a look at this product that I'm actually.
Is that it? Yep. We'll take a look at it. Now, what I have learned from another dietitian, now this is a 1-to-1 replacement, and it is sugar, but what I understand is it registers lower on the glycemic index.
Yeah, I would say it does have a significant amount of potassium. So if you're watching your potassium, it's probably, unfortunately, you're better stick to something else.
So what about baking sugar substitutes like the Splenda?
Those are fine.
Those are fine. Okay, good to know. And they are built for a 1-to-1, but I do find that two things happen. I do add a little extra moisture to my baking if I'm using one, and I reduce the cook time. Because what happens in baking is sugar, it starts out solid when we measure it, it liquefies in your baking and then sets when it cools. So your cook time, especially for making something like a cheesecake, I've made cheesecake with sugar and the bake time is half because you just don't have that liquefaction of the sugar within it. What about monk fruit sugar? That's another one that a lot of people talk about.
Yes, and again, I can't remember that off the top of my head if it's what the potassium content.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just thinking of the ones that come to mind.
Is it easier than my computer?
June, question for you. Other than potatoes, are there foods that are recommended for blanching to reduce potassium?
Potatoes and sweet potatoes. Kidney Foundation on the Kidney Community Kitchen, there's a great article on removing potassium from potatoes. And you can do the same with sweet potatoes as well. Potatoes and sweet potatoes lend themselves well to leaching potassium the way the cooking process goes. But when we talk about a high fiber food like, say, broccoli, we're finding that the latest research is showing that you're not absorbing all of that potassium. The fiber in there seems to really inhibit the potassium absorption. So we're less concerned about something like broccoli than potatoes, which are very thin walls, very easy for that potassium to get absorbed. But yeah, there are some great cooking methods to reduce potassium from potatoes. You can still enjoy them.
That is a great learning lesson because I had heard from you before about the twice cooking of a potato helps.
Yeah.
But I never understood why.
Yeah, and the other thing that the article that on the Kidney Community Kitchen talks about is parboiling your potatoes and then draining the water and then soaking them for the day or overnight. And once they've been partly cooked, even more potassium leaches out to that water, and then you can dump it. Just be cautious if you're I know a lot of people will save that potato water and use it in something else. You wouldn't want to do that if you need to limit your potassium.
All right. Would you like some vegetables?
Oh, that's some vegetables.
We've got forks right there. Now, for my own interest, what are, other than the potato and the sweet potato, and bananas, what are those highest potassium-rich fruits to avoid generally?
Things we do recommend you stay away from things like orange juice, because orange juice has the fiber removed and it's got very easily absorbable potassium. Same with tomato juice.
Okay.
You could put a slice of fresh tomato on your sandwich, but we wouldn't recommend that you drink a glass of tomato juice.
Okay.
And then a lot of the coconut products. Coconut water is a huge one, crazy high in potassium and seemingly very, very popular right now, but it wouldn't be something you would think. And when you're having something that's a juice or a broth that has a lot of potassium, you absorb it very, very well.
Okay. Do you recommend people if they have the interest and wherewithal, make their own stocks?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? We buy chicken legs when they're on sale or drumsticks, whatever is on sale, because they have, with the bone, lots of flavor to add, and just throw them in a pot, cut an onion, a couple of ribs of celery, carrot, the fresh thyme really comes into play, cover it with water, and honestly, because of the meat, as opposed to you hear about people making stocks with bones, well, that has to simmer for hours. But honestly, in 90 minutes to 2 hours with one of those bulk packs of chicken, you've got enough stock to last you, and it freezes well. We keep it in a juice pitcher in the fridge. And I find if I have homemade stock in the fridge, I make better dinner decisions because all of a sudden soup is easier, or making a nice braised dish is easier because you've got the good stock.
Yeah, it is a great idea if you have the time and the energy. It's a great idea, and definitely make lots and freeze it.
And if we roast a chicken, after we've taken the meat off for us to enjoy, we'll take what's left, put it in a pot, And you make a smaller amount of stock with that because the flavor is already partly cooked out. But again, throw in an onion, crack a couple carrots in half, and in the time it takes you to eat dinner, do the dishes, after you've carved the chicken, you've got stock.
This
This-
cauliflower is amazing.
I was gonna say this looks really, really good, and I have to admit I'm a bit jealous. I'm not there with you to try it. It looks absolutely delicious. Anna, you mentioned garlic, and you love garlic, and I am from Lebanese origin, and I love garlic a lot. But some people have tolerance to it. So,
Yes.
what substitute do you use instead of garlic?
If you can handle in the onion family, a shallot is like a little onion, and it has a garlicky taste without being garlic itself. And leeks are a beautiful, subtle option. They're a lot milder than an onion. They have a nice natural sweet flavor. And again, we were talking about aroma. The aroma, I can see my associate Lisa in the back, like, the smell of leeks sauteing is just, you just know good food is coming when you smell that. So those are two options that give you flavor impact without having to add lots of garlic.
Yeah, they're both great choices on the kidney diet.
Good.
I can't believe how crispy this cauliflower is.
I know, with those simple ingredients.
So these dishes that you made, they would be great as a side dish. They would be also great as a main dish as well. But a lot of people with kidney disease, especially if they're on dialysis, one of the biggest concern that they have is the loss of muscle mass. So what can they do when it comes to eating, June and Anna as well, if you have any insights on this to avoid that? And what's something that you can use, as a main and next to these side dishes?
So I'll just answer from the muscle loss perspective. The easiest thing to do is really focus on getting protein at every meal. So in North America, a lot of us get protein at breakfast. So we might have a bowl of cereal or toast and jam, and you can really, it's a really missed opportunity. We know people lose less muscle mass when they start their day with a source of protein. So whether it's a couple eggs, or there's no reason why you can't have salmon on toast for breakfast or a bagel with salmon, but looking at getting protein in each meal. And if you're on dialysis and you're really struggling to get the amount of protein that your dietitian recommends, talk to your dietitian and they can give you some great advice about alternatives or supplements or ways to boost the protein in your diet.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm at the age where I'm being sensitive and being told the same thing. Have more protein in your diet. Is cottage cheese acceptable for?
Yeah, cottage cheese is a great, great option, and you can find pressed cottage cheese in all grocery stores that has no salt. And if you're a cottage cheese hater, like I am, the tubs of cottage cheese my mom used to put inside of a cantaloupe when I was a kid. The pressed cottage cheese is really nice. It's nowhere near as salty, and it has a nice flavor.
Okay, that's good to know about the pressed cottage cheese. I didn't realize that. It's funny that 20 years ago we were told, oh, be careful, don't eat too many eggs, and it's like we talked ourselves out of eating eggs more than once or twice a week, but it's okay.
Yeah, unless you have specific recommendations from your doctor not to eat eggs, most people can safely consume them regularly. Yeah.
All right, good to know.
June, you mentioned that it's important to start the day eating protein. We got a question about yogurt bowls. So the person that submitted the question mentioned that they start their day as a breakfast eating yogurt bowl, but they don't really enjoy fruits. So is there something that Anna as well, can you give them other options other than fruits that to add to their yogurt bowl, maybe make it savory, maybe other options?
Mm-hmm.
And I will just say for most kidney patients, you don't want to go crazy with the amount of dairy you have. So whatever you've been recommended, whether it's half a cup or a cup a day, start with a Greek yogurt, which is going to be higher in protein. And then as far as toppings that aren't fruit, you could top them with a quarter cup of nuts.
You know what? And cucumbers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, almost go without the garlic, but sliced cucumbers, you could put a little dill on there. Even dried dill is one of those herbs. I don't buy a lot of fresh dill because I end up with the whole bunch and it goes slimy before I use it all. But dried dill rehydrates nicely. So to lean more towards savory. Can you
Yeah.
do seeds and nuts? Like pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds?
In moderation, and
Okay.
if you know, talk to your dietitian about how much you can safely include. It's a little bit different, but like at our site, we would say use a quarter cup of nuts a day is a good source of protein.
Yep. But you know, if you had some leftover, say you had leftover cooked red pepper and broccoli, chop that up and put that on top.
Yeah.
A little bit of tahini. The tahini and lemon would be delicious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lots of that.
One last question is kind of a two-sided question. The first part of it is a high protein diet of 150 grams per day good for kidney disease or kidneys in general? And also, do you have any recommendations for protein powders? The person that asked that part of the question is trying to use them in their pancakes and other foods.
Okay, so that is another question that I have to start with. That depends. So it really depends on an individual. So when you have kidney disease early on, you don't want to have huge amounts of protein because that's going to put extra strain on your kidneys. And we especially know that animal proteins are a little bit tougher when your kidneys are clearing out the waste products. Plant-based proteins have shown to be protective in early kidney disease. Once you get to dialysis, it is a higher protein diet. But again, it really depends on you. It depends on your height, depends on your weight, it depends on all of your medical needs. So a dietitian will sit down with you and tell you exactly what the number of grams of protein that you should aim for and what that translates into in terms of food.
And do you recommend using the apps where you can input your food and it breaks down and tells you how much you're consuming, or are those
really wanted to, but
okay?
I think in general, your dietitian would say to you, you know, and I think you should aim for 8 ounces of meat and protein foods a day and what that looks like. Choose a source at every meal. If you're the kind of person that enjoys counting your grams of protein, it would not be for me. I think I would go crazy after the first couple days. But and the diet never needs to be absolutely perfect. We're just looking for you know, aiming for the numbers that make the most sense for you. And the other thing that's really important with the kidney diet is it can change. So before you start dialysis, you might be on a lower protein diet. You start dialysis, let's say you're on peritoneal dialysis, maybe you need a high potassium diet. And then you go to hemodialysis and you need a low potassium diet. So there's no hard and fast rule. It really changes depending on the person.
Really helpful to know.
Very helpful. And I'm gonna add that if you're interested in knowing the nutritional analysis of your meals in general or your daily, weekly meals, I invite you to check the Kidney Community Kitchen site and use our meal planner. And there you can see the breakdown of the nutritional analysis of your meals. And it also helps you to plan for the week and the meals that you're going to be having during that week. So, with that, we're coming almost to the time. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much, both June and Anna, for this really great presentation and delicious looking food. I can't wait to go ahead and make it as soon as I take my lunch break. If in case you missed it, I invite everyone to go back to the Kidney Community Kitchen and view the recipes there. We added them in the chat, but also they are on the Kidney Community Kitchen as of now. They are part of the new cookbook that Anna just launched, that she's carrying it right now. If you'd like to speak a few words about it, Anna, please go ahead.
Yes, I'm thrilled to share my savory side through Anna Cooks, and you will find a couple of my sweet recipes on the Kidney Community Kitchen webpage. I made for Christmas last year, the steamed cranberry pudding.
I made those.
Yeah.
Those were
That was
good,
really, really good.
And even though this is a full menu book, it does contain desserts. But just as a note, I wanted to go through the effort. I appreciated working with you so much, June, on these recipes, making them adaptable to a kidney-friendly diet. My dad suffered from kidney issues, and I was impressed how, as a family, we were able to come together and adjust our diet and to suit him. And he had good meals too.
Yeah,
So I take inspiration from it.
Yeah, you can eat great meals and you can take recipes that aren't created for kidney patients and adapt them so that they're wonderful.
But that Kidney Community Kitchen site is such a great resource. I find it informative, helpful, and it's just so crystal clear with your specifics of what your needs are. It addresses them. So I hope you use that as a resource.
Thank you, Anna. So as she mentioned, yes, all her recipes that she adapted for the kidney diet are on the Kidney Community Kitchen right now. You can go and view that, along with over 250 additional kidney-friendly recipes. The Kidney Community Kitchen is an excellent resource to support you on your kidney journey towards healthier eating. It offers helpful tools like the meal planner and the Ask the Dietitian feature, as well as a variety of other resources, including dietitian written blog posts, fact sheets, cooking demonstrations, and more. Visit the site today and subscribe to our quarterly newsletter to stay up to date and never miss out on any new content and tips. The links are in the chat if you want to go and check it out. Here at the Kidney Foundation, we are committed to being your trusted source for information and educational resources about kidney disease, as well as the support you need to empower your kidney journey. Through Kidney Connect peer support, you can connect one-on-one with one of our moderators who has experienced living with kidney disease. You can fill out the form through the link in the chat or call 1-866-390-7337 to submit a request. You can also register for a virtual peer support group by sending an email to peersupport@kidney.ca or call 1-866-390-7337. To connect with others with lived experience, visit kidneyconnect.ca. For information to support you in your kidney journey, please visit our sites, kidneyinfo.ca and kidney.ca. Remember, you are not alone. When today's webinar ends, your computer will open a new page requesting you to complete our webinar satisfaction survey. Your feedback is very important to us and it will help us to continue to improve our webinar series, so we'd really appreciate if you can take just a few minutes to complete it. The survey will be available in English and French through the language button in the upper right corner of your screen. So thank you again for joining us today, and thank you, June and Anna, for this wonderful cooking demonstration, and we hope to see you again in our next webinars. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go Jays.
Yeah.
Make this as a snack.
Bye.